Welcome to our Cybersafe Digest Weekly podcast, episode 19. Each week, we will unfold the most recent cyber attacks and will provide you with valuable insights on how to shield your business from these threats, along with practical steps and tips to enhance your cybersecurity.
Welcome everybody to the Cybersafe Digest podcast, episode 19. I'm Martin Roberts, Managing Director of Newways, and I'm here with...
Toby Stevenson, Chief Technology Officer at Newways.
Brilliant. Okay, folks, we're here at Newstro House, our headquarters just south of Derby. You may hear some jollity and excitement in the background. Every month we have a big get-together, Super Tuesday, where we have competitions and pizzas and things like that. Today is a pool competition. That's a pool with snooker cues and things like that. And pizzas have been had. So if you hear cheering in the background, that's what the noise is. We were going to tell everybody to be quiet, but actually we don't want to spoil the fun. Talking of fun, Toby, we talked about cyber insurance and how to get it last week.
Yes.
And we're going to go one step further. And for the benefit of our listeners, which we have said before, are focused on people who are responsible for IT, but not necessarily executing IT. It's knowing a little bit more about cyber insurance is probably quite important rather than just buying the first thing that's being offered.
Definitely, yeah, in exactly the same way as you would pay attention to home insurance, car insurance, life insurance, all of those insurances. Yeah, no two policies are created equal.
No, and there's exclusions, inclusions, caveats and things like
Absolutely,
that.
yeah, and it can be a bit of a minefield, and it's really difficult to know what to get because, as we said last week, people used to just be able to get it by basically answering their name and address and date of birth, and they were provided with a sum of money, and it's got a lot harder to get that now. And the insurance companies have been burnt. They are looking to really tighten up on the grounds with which they make a payout. And not only is it a list of solutions and attitudes and approaches to your environment that they're interested in, but they're also interested in actually the nature of the attack. And the nature of the attack may imply certain types of payout are restricted or otherwise.
Now, I guess one of the things I would say is that there is a tendency sometimes for ease to use your usual provider of insurance for your business. They may be providing professional indemnity insurance, they may be providing public liability insurance, like just to accept what they're offering you. My recommendation would be to use a broker to see what is available out there and suited to your business, rather than just taking the add-on from the other insurers. What's your view on that, Toby?
No, I think that's good advice. I guess the danger with any kind of add-on is it's an afterthought, and it's perhaps not as comprehensive, or there may be onerous limitations or restrictions on what it will or won't pay out on. Going to a broker directly and discussing the very specific requirements that you have and what your environment looks like, make sure that you get cover that's tailored to your needs and to your environment.
Yeah, I think there's a key thing. Before going to anybody, you actually need to think about what you want from your cyber insurance, because the cyber insurance offers vary, and the coverage varies. Some of it can be about, do you want to just do reputation management? Do you want to do recovery from the position that you've got yourself into? Do you just want the ransom paying? Do you want the company to negotiate on your behalf with anybody holding you to ransom? Do you? And maybe turning this on its head slightly, having a potentially an expert in or some advisor in to give you help you think about what you need from insurance might well be worth considering.
I definitely think so, yeah. Rather than just ticking the box at the end of the existing insurance form that says cyber insurance, please. Yeah. Actually speak with someone that knows their stuff and can properly advise and steer. Understand what, if any, consequential loss payment is available. Yeah. Understand how much of the sum that you're insured for they will pay out for certain parts of the incident. So it's not uncommon for, let's say you've got £1 million worth of insurance, there will be a cap as to how much can be spent on incident response. There'll be a cap on how much will be paid out for recovery, how much will be paid out for replacement equipment and remediation. So, and that remediation is actually another really great point. The insurance will cover you for getting you back, but it won't necessarily cover you for the things that you need to do to stop it happening again. So again, it's understanding what it will do, which areas it's able to provide financial assistance in, what areas that they can provide non-financial assistance. So, as you mentioned, helping with communications, helping to manage the incident publicly so that reputational loss is minimised. These are all things that vary wildly, and they are normally not that well catered for with just that tick box extension to your existing insurance.
Absolutely. And I think about the whole exercise of saying, what is it you want? One of the exercises that we do with our clients is take them through a tabletop exercise.
Yes, yeah.
And what happens in the event of a notional event, and we walk them through, we ask certain questions.
Yeah, it's a really good thought exercise to run through, and there's a bunch of resources out there, and it's something you can do yourself, or you can work with maybe your insurance company offers something like that, but there are cybersecurity companies, maybe your MSP will do that. As Marty says, we do that with some of our customers, and it's really handy because it's not a particularly technical activity, but it makes you think about all the things that you might need to have to hand and have in place, and that can then help better understand what your insurance requirements are.
Yes, and some insurance companies will, as part of the offer or part of the control, depending on where you look at it, is they will take over the whole incident response activity and the communication plan, and they will work with third parties that they have engaged to put things right. So if you are engaged with an MSP, for instance, and you get a breach, it may no longer be the responsibility of the MSP to be working on that. They may take over.
Exactly, and I think this is one of these external costs that you may not factor.
Yes.
The cost that the MSP will invariably levy on you for any of their involvement, if they have to help you restore from backup, or rebuild machines or something like that, then their costs may not be covered by the insurance policy, and that might be something that comes out of your own pocket. So again, it's making it clear what you are able to claim for and what is able to be paid out against.
And there'll be limits of liability as well. So if they engage a specialist third party on your behalf, the insurance will cover a certain level of liability, but above and beyond that, you will become personally liable and your business will have to pay for that.
Yeah, almost certainly in any kind of insurance claim piece, as you see with most other claims, you very rarely get away without having to put your hand in your own pocket.
Absolutely. I guess I always try to draw parallels with normal, I call it normal insurance. And one of those is, we'll talk about reputational risk for a moment, or just the trauma of going through a cyber breach and getting a resolution to it. But if you buy insurance to help you in the event of flooding in your house, and if it's never happened to you, you go, well, hey, I got insurance, my house was put right, and I'm okay. But the reality is the trauma of going through the flood, seeing your possessions engulfed in water, and then having to move out of the house whilst things are put right and remediated, which could take 6 months or more, is a very painful experience. And not until you have experienced it do you realise what the trauma is. And to some degree, the parallel with a cyber breach is very much the same. The chances are you will stop doing business for a while. You will have to carry the overhead of putting things right, taking orders that you couldn't have taken at the time. You may lose business because you couldn't take orders. And then that overall thing, that reputational risk, rebuilding that is just a huge venture, which even cyber insurance at any cost is very difficult to put right.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And some cyber insurance schemes will help in those areas, but yeah, the trauma and the physical and mental toll on people involved in the business during such an incident shouldn't be underestimated.
No,
there are cyber professionals that are moving away from the industry because of things like post-traumatic stress and things, just because it all gets too much, and working for 20-hour days
Yep.
for a week, is just a mental and physical toll that is not sustainable for them.
And I guess the other thing to bear in mind is about the reputational thing. The chances are, as a small, medium enterprise, small business, you are part of the supply chain. And part of that, being part of that supply chain, is not about price necessarily and the ability to fulfill orders. It's about trust. We trust our suppliers, we trust our customers. The moment you have a breach and that becomes public knowledge, and we'll talk about when to publish and what you have to publish by law in a few moments. Once that reputation is damaged as being part of a supply chain, will you regain that? And will any amount of money regain that? Time might, if you've still got the customers to convince that you're a good supply chain partner, and you take the remedial action in terms of getting certifications and things like that.
Yeah, it's difficult. Some of the large entities, they will behave in different ways. Some will be relatively supportive. Some may just drop you like a hot stone and move on to somebody else. And it can be really hard to come back from all of that kind of stuff. And one of the things I think we have seen kind of in the last few months with various high profile cyber incidents is actually being open and honest and frank about it actually probably pays more dividends than trying to cover it up and say nothing to see here.
Well, there's a very fine
there is
balance,
absolutely,
isn't there?
and that's where a communications management company,
Yes,
their advice is key.
Yes,
if you're a technology company and you've had a big breach, you can't kid a kidder, and there's too many people that know their stuff, and they will, if you try to cover it over, you'll get exposed. And so I think speed of notification if something bad has happened, saying early reflects well on an organisation, but it's about managing the comms and using the right language, because using the wrong language can be the most damaging thing you can do.
Yeah, I mean, we went through an exercise with someone recently, and they were very keen to put out their own, it's a notional exercise very early on about that there'd been a breach and there was a problem. And in reality, they were too keen because they could have caused great damage, reputational damage to their business. And it turned out that the incident we walked through with them actually wasn't as bad as that, and the compromise and notionally wasn't as great.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Because once that the cat's out of the bag, you can't put it back in. And if you say that something's happened and it certainly later transpires that something didn't happen, and it was something completely different, the damage is done. You've made the noise, and you can't say that you didn't have it actually.
Yeah. So it's a very important part of the process to think about. So I guess without doing this one I mean, this is the second episode we've done about cyber insurance. Episode 18 was about how do you get cyber insurance and should you have it? And the answer is yes, you should have cyber insurance, but you're going to have to work hard to do it.
Yes, it's definitely not an either or choice.
Yeah,
you should invest in your cyber defences and then take insurance to help with any financial fallout if those defences are breached, shall we say.
Don't just tick the box. Don't just do an add-on. Don't just take the first offer that comes along. You've got to ask the questions, and maybe going through a bit of an exercise first to decide exactly, understand what the impact on you would be of a cyber breach and how you would do it, and how you would deal with it and what help you need, and understanding the full costs of that, because it might be worthwhile paying a higher premium to get more coverage than skimping on the insurance and finding out actually all that's going to happen in an event that you actually will be paying more out on the day because the insurance isn't covering it. Is worthwhile understanding as well. Okay, very useful. Thank you very much. We are going to do an acronym of the week, and I've gone for a very simple one this time.
Okay.
And it's AV.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
antivirus.
Well, a lot of people think audiovisual.
Very true.
And other things as well, but antivirus. And my view or my concern sometimes is that people install antivirus and they think they're covered for everything. Yeah. So AV first. What is antivirus and what does it do?
Fine. So antivirus software is its core reason for being is to prevent known malicious software from running on your computer.
Yep.
And antivirus software has been around for decades, ever since the first virus was written in the 80s, I think it was. And back then, we didn't have the internet, we didn't have email. The way that the viruses moved around was much slower. It was normally by floppy disk or something like that. And so having this relatively small number of viruses in your definition catalogue. So the way antivirus software works, it maintains a catalogue of all known bad files, basically. And I'll say all kind of like with air speech quotes because there are limits to what it can keep. And essentially it's like a big dictionary of all the viruses that particular antivirus vendor wants to protect you against. Now, because viruses keep coming out all the time, that list gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and there are practical limits to how large that database file, that catalogue file can be before it's unwieldy and it slows down the performance, because every time something runs, it has to be checked against this catalogue.
Sure.
So what happens is that the antivirus vendors say, well, we've not seen that for a few years, we'll just kick that one out of the catalogue because we don't believe that that's a threat anymore. So it's not for everything that's ever existed, because that's just unmanageable. There's some element of like risk scoring that they take to say, okay, so we've not seen this virus anywhere for 5 years, so we'll just eject it from our dictionary.
Sure.
And some vendors back in the day used to have two sets of dictionaries. They used to have like the emerging threats, which was the sets of files that were seen more frequently, and then they'd have a larger, almost optional catalogue, which was a bigger set, and invariably it would impact performance, because rather than looking at a list of 1,000 files, it would be looking at a list of 1 million files every time you tried to do something. So we fast forward to today, and we've got the internet, and we've got email, and we've got social media, and we've got all of these AI-driven things, and what we tend to see now is that malicious code is one-time use. It's being specifically rolled for a specific target. So we might want to call that some zero-day malware, for example. It's zero-day because nobody has ever seen it before, so therefore there's not a definition in one of these catalogue files. And antivirus has tried to keep up with this growing dictionary catalogue of viruses, and it resorts to cloud-based databases. So it's not downloading and storing them locally, it's kind of looking at the cloud when you try to do something. But invariably, if they ain't seen it, they can't protect you against it. And that's kind of the major flaw with antivirus. They have to have seen it, and it has to be in the definitions catalogue. So, if it's brand new, then there is an inherent dwell time before it can be introduced into the catalogue, and then you then have to download the updated catalogue to get the protection on your machine. So in an emerging attack, you're not going to be protected. Likewise, if you come under a semi-targeted ransomware attack, it's going to be custom rolled for that campaign. No one's going to have seen it before, so the antivirus isn't really going to help you. So that's kind of a very brief history of antivirus and kind of a bit of how it works. It's a bit more detail than that, but at a very high level, that's kind of how it works. It's looking for things that have been seen before.
And I suppose my point really is that antivirus is an important part of a multi-layered security approach. But it's not the only thing.
No, you absolutely need to protect against malicious code. You need to protect against known threats. And we're not necessarily that concerned about a virus that came out 20 years ago, but we might be concerned about one that came out 2 days ago.
For sure.
Or a week ago. And antivirus can still, in most cases, protect against those things. But right at that very sharp edge, they don't have the insight and the visibility because that's not how they work.
And so, I guess the thing is, sometimes I meet people and they say, "Oh, what game are you in?" And I say, "Well, computers," and they go, "Oh," and they ask me for some advice. And my first thing is to say, "Well, of course, I don't know anything because I only run the business. I rely on technical experts like you to the important stuff." But I do find that sometimes people go, "Well, I've got so and so installed. It's an antivirus. I'm okay." And it's like, I think somebody might disagree with you there.
Yeah. I mean, it's a useful tool, and obviously having an antivirus is better than having no antivirus. But you get antivirus built into Windows. There's a free version of Defender that comes with there, and actually its ability to stop known malware is very good. It's not great for a business because it's hard to manage. There's no central reporting. So as an IT department or as an MSP, you can't see what those machines are doing. But actually, for a home user, it gives a good level of protection. against known threats. And that's the key thing, the known threats part.
Good. Well, that's AV. That's acronym of the week. Thank you very much, Terry. Thank you for your time this week. So we love feedback. If you've got any comments about the podcast, anything that you'd like to say, or any subject areas you'd like covering, or any acronyms related to IT, of course, that you'd like to talk about, we'd be delighted to hear from you. That's episode 19. Thank you very much. Hopefully see you next time. Goodbye.
Thank you, everyone. We've reached the end of episode 19 of our Cybersafe Digest Weekly podcast. Thank you very much for listening, and to make sure you don't miss out on our future episodes, hit that subscribe button on Spotify, Apple, or Google Podcast. For more cybersecurity wisdom and resources, head over to our website at cybersafe.co.uk. See you next Thursday.